RG, aka your the Networth Nation, the Networth Nation to the nation for the nation. Big shout outs. Dee Dee from New York City for sending me this super uber ultra breakdown of the insurance industry and why people of color struggle with the concept of insurance. And one of the reasons why the struggle is so real is because of the misconception. I really like the way they dive in and pull those misconceptions to the forefront. Let's really look at this for what it's worth because I think there's going to be a lot of jewels in this.
That the reason why our culture is so against life insurance is because we never received it.
Right.
Like,
so we don't have an emotional connection.
Yeah, we don't believe that it can actually work for us. And that, just for me, so my father passed away when I was 16. And I'll never forget. He had the life insurance to his job, which is a trash plan. Yeah. So it was like $25,000 in life insurance to pay for his funeral and to get split up amongst 3 siblings.
Right.
So we got like $4,000 each. And I was like, my father just passed like a fourth of it. I'm doing $4,000. You know what I'm saying? And so I just realized that the probably reason why I was jaded, to think that life insurance wasn't something that was immediately necessary. If I would have got $100,000, if we would have got $100,000 each, it would have been a different story.
Imagine getting $1 million, tax-free, a check. Your bank account might have been at $5,000. It's at $1,000,005 Do you understand? I think we're not really letting people feel what it would be if this was to happen. Because I've had people say to me, nobody left me anything. So I'm not leaving my kids anything. And I'm like,
crazy.
What? Yeah. Because I don't understand. Just because you didn't get the feeling, why you don't want to leave the feeling behind?
Right.
Yeah. So I think that one of the other issues are there's too many people talking about life insurance that are not licensed, don't know nothing about it, have not experienced receiving the money.
Facts.
And they're giving these opinions and people are thinking that they're facts.
Right.
So one of the things is I have a mentorship where I mentor agents. And one of the things I teach them is, listen, you want to treat these people like as if it was your family. And so if that's the case, you need to make sure that they understand the feeling of what they're doing, what this is going to do. And so one of the things I think with all of these opinions, you got people telling you buy term, invest the rest. You got people telling you you don't need insurance. You have people saying insurance is a scam, all of these things. And you know what I tell them? I say, guess what? That's your family and your issues. I'm going to tell you this. When I pass away, my daughter's going to get over $8 million in life insurance money. And she also has her own policies that were going to be paid up that my grandkids will receive money for. I've used my insurance when I've had hardships. I've used my money to renovate my house. I've used my money for so many different things. She's about to go to school. If I need to, I will dip into it. You understand? So I've experienced it. So I don't understand what's the scam part about it.
Right.
I don't understand why you would tell me to buy term and invest the rest when half of us are not investing.
Right.
They're buying the term. Yeah. They're not doing the other side of it. So that's why you can't tell our community that because they don't understand investing. So even they see all these things about doing. Everybody can't have a George in their pocket and be able to, because that requires minimums. And a lot of people don't have $250,000 minimums to dump into an account every year. So they got to figure it out themselves.
I am going to stop her 1 minute because what she's saying is 100% correct. But here's the problem. The reality of it is that we have to give our people of color a little bit more credit. What am I saying? We do know a whole lot more than our parents did. And where our parents, they were given limited information, right? They were in the generation, the first to go to college and all that stuff, the first to get decent paying jobs. So they were only given this kind of information, right? And here's the thing. The insurance products were never promoted the way this young lady is obviously using her policy. This is what it's all about. was being done by an elite group of people back in my mother's generation, but they wouldn't tell nobody. That was the elites. The elites was pumping money in there. They were doing their little thing. That's why she's going to mention it in a few minutes. They have rules that they had to come back in the insurance game and change because the elites were pumping money in these policies, which technically they weren't really supposed to, because the policies weren't being taxed, because the government does not tax life insurance the same way it taxed income. And so because they realized it wasn't doing that, they were pouring money, boatloads of money in those policies. And what she said, they were doing all types of things. Now, I will say this to say that there's still a lot of opportunity in the insurance game. But again, she's right. There's a lot of people out there talking stuff on the internet. They really just love the catchwords, the phrase words, the hook words. They like how that sounds. They get a little clicky bait. And so they go on and talk about it. But I'm here to say this. Anybody that's really serious, who's had a 401k, which most of you out there have had, then you need to listen to this video, because you obviously know enough to do something if you've had a 401k. All right, here we go.
That's where I come in as a life insurance agent, as a broker. I come in and I tell them, listen, we can do all these things that you want to do, but it's going to take some sacrifice. You have to pay a premium. You got to stop telling me that you want $200,000 in cash value in your policy next year with a $100 budget, $1,200 a year, $2,400 in 2 years, and you want a $200,000 return.
As a new kid say, the math ain't mathing, right?
It's not mathing. I mean, George, if you know something.
So what is she talking about? She says cash value. She throws that term around a lot because what we're talking about here is not term life. See, term policies are not really built to build cash value, because remember, those policies are what they mean, term, temporary. They're there for a temporary period of time. So I need to cover 15 years of my life or 20 years of my life in my high earning years. And if something happens to me and I leave behind family with small children, I'm gonna need money to help wifey pay off a house, pay off whatever. You know what I mean? So that's what that is. But that's not what she's talking about. See, what we're talking about here are whole life plans. Whole life plans accumulate cash value. Now, a lot of people kind of know that because they're like, oh yeah, I see the money. I didn't know if I could do anything with it. Or that's only because whoever sold you the plan didn't really explain it to you that way. Because again, there was only the elitist that knew how to pour money into those plans and use it for all the things that she was talking about. So that's why most people don't have a clue what a whole life policy can actually do. But that's the difference. Not term life, whole life.
If you know something, let me know.
I don't know no secrets.
I got 200.
All I know is
but I don't know about it.
But here's what I think the disconnect is, honestly, Lindsay. I think what the disconnect is, and this is in all of our industries, not just life insurance, but if people get on the internet and they'll speak to all these possibilities on what can happen, right? And so on the show, I would love to break this down, but like you hear people say, if you get a policy and you get a properly structured life insurance policy, but no one ever talks about the proper structure. Right? It's like, okay, well, don't show me the illustration on the theory, because I started out on the insurance world. I was a top agent for Mass Mutual. They still use my name to recruit Black people to this day, right? But my point is, it's like, if we can just educate people, right, beyond the sound bites, and like, hey, yes, life insurance can be a powerful tool. Yes, you can use life insurance to become your own bank. But here is what it looks like. Because people are so misinformed and they don't understand. And it's not bad that there are premiums associated with it, that there are fees associated with it, because that's anything. But it's like, let's not oversell and undereducate, right? So what I would love for you to do is to break down how the policy needs to be structured, right? And what it actually looks like to leverage it in real life.
I love that because you're right. People just need to know the steps.
Right.
So if you are looking to become your own bank, infinite banking, this concept, the first thing you need to understand is it's going to require a commitment.
Right.
It is life insurance and you must pay for the premium. There are 2 policy types that you can use to do this concept. It's either going to be universal life or it's going to be whole life. Now, both of these types have multiple variations and some of them are going to get you to your goals faster, but again, goes back to budget. So you're going to first choose either UL or you're going to get a whole life policy.
Okay.
After you do that, you're going to want to maximize this policy's cash value growth so that you can reach these goals. So that means if your premium is, let's just say $200 a month, maybe you're going to dump in $350 a month, because you're trying to maximize the growth in the cash value. So that means, again, more commitment. The more commitment you give, the more money this policy is going to grow. But there is something called a MEC, a modified endowment contract.
Right.
So if you go over this number, that means the IRS deems this an investment and it becomes taxable. So we want to stay under the MEC if you are somebody who is going to use the money. If you're transferring wealth and you ain't touching it, then it doesn't matter if the policy works. But if you want to use this policy, then you want to make sure we stay under the MEC. So we're going to.
And that is why it's important to have 2 policies. Notice she said if you're transferring. What does that mean? That means the one she did for her daughter, the $8 million. She's not messing with that. And maybe she played with it. Maybe she played with it a little bit. I don't know. But the point is that she's making a very, very valid point. That's why, guys, it's important to have a couple of policies. What am I saying exactly? I am saying that why worry about a savings account, a CD, money market, and these type of things, and even a 401k? Because what this young lady is really leaving out, and maybe she'll touch on it, is that in the insurance policy, you're still going to have a death benefit value. Meaning, like, for example, if you bought a $200,000 policy, then you got a $200,000 policy. And that $200,000 policy is valued same as cash. What does that mean? That means that it's $200,000. This is why Networth Nation primarily levels up on the platform of insurance, because it can literally give me a $200,000 net worth literally within 2 to 3 months after the policy has been purchased. Because if you forfeit the policy in the first couple of months, then it's like null and void. But once you pass that time period, that policy is what it is. That's why you have so many people that leverage portions of their policy, their death benefit, to buy investment properties, to pay off loans, to do this, to do that. That's why. Because they know that money is going to be paid upon the death of that client. So that's another level that a lot of people in the ordinary workplace have no idea of. Some people maybe they don't understand. I don't know. But that's what we're here for. We're here to explain from the Networth Nation Level Up platform that this is why this product is so dynamic. Another thing she's mentioning is the MEC, which is very important because we said it again, the elites were pouring so much money in there that they had to create this modified endowment policy to stop people from hiding money in insurance policies so that they won't have to avoid taxes. So again, we know Uncle Scam is never going to lose out on his money.
We're going to overfund this policy right under the MEC. So your insurance agent should be able to structure the policy and be able to make certain amounts of money be able to be dumped into the policy. After that, we're going to take money out for things that are going to be an asset. This is where people get it wrong.
Big facts.
You have to take the money out. Let's say you're purchasing a property that's $50,000 and it may need $20,000 in renovations. So you're at $70,000. So we borrow $70,000 from the policy, and now we sell this policy 6 months later for $150,000. You need to pay the $70,000 back. The goal of this thing is to repeat the process as you keep adding on assets. You're growing your assets, but your policy is becoming whole. So you're creating a bank per se, but the bank has to be funded.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so the problem is people come to me and they say, hey, I want to create a bank, but I have $50. Well, your bank is going to be relative to this $50 you have. I can't create you a $500,000 bank with a $50 commitment.
Yep.
Right.
It's relative. Now, the thing that happens in this policy is if you have time, which a lot of people, we don't have time. Everybody wants their money today.
Yeah.
So if you have time, then it will compound year after year, and it will look really nice later on. It will be 2-3 times what you probably put in. Your death benefit will be way more than what you put in, but not in the beginning.
Yeah.
So there are policies that you can put money in and get 85 to 90% out in year one. But what will happen with those policies if you don't put the money back? It will end.
Yeah, it will come, and that money will become a taxable event.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can.
So, guys, let me just be realistic here. This concern that she's talking about cannot be from people who are accustomed of the 401k market, because obviously if you're not clueless of what a 401k is, then what she's saying probably would be that particular person looking for the money tomorrow morning, looking for the money the next day. So I know she's making a point of it, but what I'm talking about is standardized working class people who are accustomed to the 401k model. This is for you, because you can wait for a couple of years because you're used to that, right? You can understand that when you work the overtime and all that stuff, that you might as well put that extra money in, because again, it's the tax shelter. So for that particular audience, this is the video for you, because you're like, what is she talking about? I don't mind waiting 2 or 3 years. I can do that because I want to buy a house, or I'm trying to pay off, a house or whatever it is. So yes, you are fine. The other audience that I'm speaking to clearly is those of us who are in small businesses, a lot of us that have our own companies. We need to create the cushion for ourselves, because a lot of times in business, we have to be responsible for our own retirement. We have to be responsible for our own cash, because we know a lot of small businesses do not get the proper funding from the banks. They just don't. This is where the infinite banking concept comes in, because the insurance policies will gladly let you take 30, 40, $50,000. You walk up the block to the Bank of America on the corner, or the TD Bank down the street, or Citibank, whatever, Wells Fargo, they're not doing it. They're going to take your finger, your little finger, your nose, everything, your hair. They're going to take everything for like $5,000, right? Shout outs to Navy Federal. They do give you a little break. Shout outs to them. But other than that, guys, you're not getting no money. You're not getting it. So a lot of these small businesses that need a little stretch fund, a little 20,000 to hold them over to make payroll and stuff like that, these are the products for you. And what happens is, in your good years, you take those $5,000, you take those extra monies, and you pump them into these products that she's talking about. And then you're able to go back to the well. So again, I know she's talking about the microwave society. I don't know who those people are at this point, because everybody that I know is out there on the grind. So again, if you're looking for this to pay you tomorrow morning, I don't know what audience she's talking to, but that's definitely not my guys here on this video. So big ups to y'all.
And use the tool immediately. And one thing I want to say about that is, if you're doing that, understand that it's a percentage of the money. Right. So you have to have the money.
Yeah.
So if you needed 100,000 and the percent is 80%, then you needed to put almost 120,000 in there.
Right. Yeah. I think the biggest misconception that cause people to look at life insurance as either a scam or something they don't need is they're expecting a miracle. And I think if you adjust your expectations to reality, it'll make the reality seem real. Because people, like, to your point, I'll put $3,000 in the policy. How much do I got $15,000 next year? No, you don't.
Right.
You would if you put $3,000 in the market today, whether real estate investing, that's not going to happen. So I think you just come up with realistic expectations. And one thing that we joke about, but is real talk. Like, in my opinion, don't try to become your own bank until you have money in your actual bank.
Right.
Like if you don't got money in your Chase bank account,
right?
Like, don't try to become your own bank over here because you just prove that you can't even keep money any money in a savings account.
Getting returned checks, okay?
Crazy.
You're trying to set up. I've had people try to set up policies where they're trying to create $100,000 in 1 year, and it's bouncing.
Yeah.
How do you have a premium for $2,000 a month and it's bouncing? Something's not right with your financial plan. Why would you set yourself up for something for $2,000 a month and you don't have this money in there at least for 6 years?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why would you set yourself up for a plan like that? And so I think the other issue is you have agents, and an agent is like a client in the beginning. They don't.
So I'm going to stop here for one reason and one reason only. I think it's crystal clear where this is going to go. The misconception stuff really comes from who you select, okay, to represent your goals and your financial needs. Here's the bottom line. These policies are absolutely dynamic. They work. The key thing is that if you're promoting a product to an audience that's not accustomed to thinking about this savings and how to offset taxes, business taxes, or how to enhance their 401k, crush them, beat them up really bad. And one of the things she didn't mention is that there's a floor and a cap in the IUL market, which means that your premiums are going in there every month. And unlike the 401k where your money can be lost because it's 100% moving on the S&P, these products are capped, meaning that at least your premiums will be in there because your premiums is what guarantees your death benefit. What is the death benefit? The death benefit is what you bought. Did you buy 100,000, like she was saying, or 200,000 or 300,000? Because that's what you really care about, ultimately, if you're an ordinary consumer. If you're looking at it from a higher level of being able to go in and borrow it off the cash value, then you already are putting probably more than your premium is in there because you already understand that we've talked about this already in advance. So again, your consult, aka Ranji, the Networth Nation, I hope this video absolutely made it a lot clearer. I could have done it, but they really did cover some key points. And I kind of took the easy way out tonight. Peace. We'll talk soon.